Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of SlowCustoms, and in today's episode we'll be looking at my Pretty Polly and Lemburg. Now if you don't know who these characters are, I don't blame you. They're mentioned A3s, I think, in, I believe, the story Brakevan, where the spiteful Brakevan talks about how their names are silly for engines. Anyway. So, Pretty Polly and Lemburg are brothers of Gordon. I believe they were A1s turned into A3s in real life. Now, the actual A3s were scrapped, except for Scotsman, of course. But I decided to make Lemburg and Pretty Polly just because I kind of wanted to grow my Gordon family. Like, I feel like making a few A3s are pretty good, because I plan to make three more. A more accurate Scotsman, Papyrus, and Sandwich. The last two are just simply because the names are funny. So yeah, anyway. So let's get into it. We'll start with Lemburg first. Now Lemburg is he's made of a 2003 Gordon, same as Pretty Polly. And these two are relatively the same, actually. There's not much different besides the faces and probably the smoke boxes. Anyway, so the green I used, I think, is the same green that I use for my British Rail green, which is a little inaccurate to the actual Lemburg and Pretty Polly, but I tried to match the color as best as I could, and I think it works. I'll probably be painting Sandwich in the same livery, so I'll have to do this again, which will suck. Because the hardest part of this, livery is the dual lining with the orange and black, as you can see going along there. That was actually pretty hard, so it looks nice, though. Anyway, so the face for Lemburg is a 2003 Henry face with edited eyebrows, or, different eyebrows. I would have used this one for my Isle of Sodor, just because the face is a little bit better, because my Isle of Sodor uses a Henry face, but I decided just to give it to Lemburg, just to give it more face variation, and I do plan to change Polly's face in the future, just because I'm not totally happy with it, but I'll get to that in a moment. Anyway, so smoke deflectors for him were cut out of a thin piece of cardboard. I actually plan to make another set of smoke deflectors for my Flying Thistle, which is being updated at the moment. I'm giving it a better nameplate, just like Lemburg and Polly have here. And I plan to give him better smoke deflectors, like Lemburg here. Anyway, they're really nice. So yeah, buffer beam is also painted red, so yeah. The side here, it's trying to replicate what the A3 running board is, and I think it works, actually. It looks a lot like the A3 and A1 running boards, which is nice. There is no boiler detail, just because on the images I saw of Pretty Polly and Lemburg, there was no lining on the, boiler, I meant firebox, sorry. From the images I saw, there weren't any lining on the firebox, so I didn't add that. Kind of saved me that, but anyway. The cab has the simple box detail. All the black on the lining was done with a Sharpie, so it will be uneven here and there, but I don't know, it kind of gives it to the nice charm. The running board also kind of dips down there, which I thought was nice. Windows aren't lined, just because. The nameplate for Lemburg and Polly are custom-made nameplates on the app Brazart. This isn't an ad, but it's actually a really good editing app for if you have a phone or if you're doing your stuff on a phone. It's really good for making nameplates. So I just made Lemburg and Pretty Polly nameplates. I actually have, I think, 3 more for Papyrus, Sandwich, and Scotsman. So when I get the other Gordons, I can make those. Anyway, so those look really nice. The tenders for these guys. Now, originally, I tried to make corridor tenders, But looking at images and references for Pretty Polly and Lemberg, they never had corridor tenders. So I was pretty pissed when I found that out, but it was my first attempt at making a corridor tender, so it'll be good when I make my Scotsman or Papyrus. I might give one of those corridor tenders with the tender that comes with the Gordon, but anyway. So it's just pieces of cardboard that are cut to go over top of the tender, and it kind of matches up with the cab here, but it is a little taller than that, but it looks nice nonetheless. The side lining, pretty simple. There is a BR crest in the center of it, but I've decided that in my AU, Pretty Polly and Lemberg decided that they didn't want to wear the BR crest anymore because that was the railway that tried to scrap them. Of course, they were scrapped in real life, but I mean, in my AU, they decide not to wear the British Rail crest, but carry the same livery. So it's kind of finicky, but anyway. So the water cap at the back, it's just a Lego stud. Pretty simple. Now to kind of fix up my mistake, I didn't add the porthole kind of thing in the back there for the corridor tender. And I just put a buffer beam down there just to kind of make sure it doesn't really look like a corridor tender, but yeah. When I do make my version of Gordon, like a more accurate version, I plan to kind of replicate what I did here with the corridor tender, but it's also not a corridor, so yeah, anyway. I did have to pull the coal load forward to allow space for the water cap back here, but yeah, that was pretty simple. And these two tenders are made out of Gordon and James tenders. This one I think is the James tender, yeah, it is. To also smooth out the surfaces, I put masking tape around it, so yeah. Anyway, so that's Lemberg. Kind of go over Pretty Polly real quick. Don't need to show the tender as the tender is relatively the same. Might be cleaner lining, but anyway. So here is Pretty Polly. Now, he's a bit different. He obviously uses the same Gordon face. In the future, I do want to change it so that he has a different kind of face. Just because I already have my Flying Thistle as the 2003 Gordon face, but that kind of fits him, so I don't know. I'll have to find a different face to use for Polly in the future. Anyway, so same Gordon face, little bit edited with like wrinkles or eyelashes here. I don't know. In my AU, it's kind of an inside joke with the other brothers that the wrinkles there kind of make it look like eyelashes. So he gets kind of clowned on for having Pretty Polly as his name. So yeah, that's fun. Then the top here, I believe that these little parts up here are supposed to be smoke deflectors, I think. I'm not too sure, actually. It didn't really specify what those were for, but the actual Pretty Polly had them, so I figured I might as well add them to give a little bit more variation in between the A3s. So, yeah, anyway, so those are just thin pieces of cardboard, hot glued on, pretty simple. Excuse me. The lining, pretty much the same. The nameplate on the side. This side is a lot better because I used a different technique on cutting it out. And on the side here, it just got absolutely massacred, especially at the bottom there. So, excuse that. When my printer does work again, I'll try and reprint this out and just make that look better. Just because, woof, it's pretty ugly. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much my Pretty Polly. Not too different from Lemberg. The tender lining may actually be a bit cleaner. But, yeah. And a little bit of a straighter buffer beam. But I tend to pair the other tender up with Lemberg just because Lemberg, honestly, is the nicer looking one out of the two. So I want to give him the tender that won't chip, or like the wheels won't like chip and crack, just like this. And when I say that, I mean like the paint kind of chips off when it goes around corners, but Yeah, so these are just the normal black wheels. These won't be affected by rolling and all that, but yeah, anyway. So I think that will be my Pretty Polly and Lemburg. Really proud of these two. I really like how they came out, and I can't wait to have the other two different A3s as well. Pretty Polly, or sorry, no, Sandwich and Papyrus. So, yeah, anyway, hope you guys, excuse me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.